Okay, for our next panel, this is a very interesting and intriguing part of a kind of an opportunity that we took up in the, I would say, last few months that we were probably not cut out for. We had not even planned, but out of the sheer passion and compassion for the crisis that we are seeing with our allies and our forces returning home, veterans, um, that we wanted to support. You probably all went through the same experience as we did as we went through the process of seeing the whole Afghan crisis unfold and the people trying to get out of the country, and we're trying to get them out of the country. While that process continues, that there are actually a lot of folks, our friends and allies, who have landed here already. And while folks are being put on the first plane out of the Bagram airport, we were actually what was going on in my head, I know at least, was that how do we deal with the incoming onslaught of people that you need to go and support, and how do we assimilate them into our communities? Well, we had never done this before, but there had to be a starting point. So what we started to do, what we do best, is technologically there must be a solution to find a way to integrate them. And we started Project Gateway. Along with that, we started another project which was called Magnolia. The Project Gateway was about those that are here in the US, and the Project Magnolia was about secure communication with those that are in Afghanistan. And I can't be more thankful for having this panel here, which is a fortuitous collection of some of the most, I would say, diverse stakeholders who are involved in this process. So just to do a quick intro, I'd like to start with Jen Foy. And Jen, if you could give an introduction, and then we'll go to Steve and John, and then Kevin.
My name is Jen Foy. I am the Senior Vice President of World Relief, one of the 9 refugee resettlement agencies that are helping to place and get the Afghan community settled in the United States.
Okay. Thank you, Jen. Steve.
Hi, Steve LaPlante. I'm with Veros Global Solutions. And one of our projects we're working on right now is the resettlement of Afghan refugees. And we're really pleased to be partnered with CFF in Project Gateway. We'll explain more, I guess, in a minute.
Absolutely, sir. John.
Hello, my name is John O'Rourke, also with Veros Global Solutions. Again, Val, thank you very much for having us here today. We would like to have this panel discussion about the Afghan situation and what people in our world are trying to do to help our former Afghan colleagues and friends that have been left behind in Afghanistan, and those that are looking for resettlement and a life that we all want to have here in the United States. So that's the focal point of what we're trying to do here today.
Excellent. Thank you, gentlemen. Kevin?
Hi, Val. Am I coming through okay?
Yes, all good.
My name's Kevin Rabin. I'm with Microsoft Consulting Services. I'm an industry architect focused on defense and intelligence, and have contributed to some of the architecture and technology surrounding secure communications.
Excellent. And Kevin goes much more broader and deeper than that. So we'll come to that very quickly. So I wanted to start with a little bit of kind of background and explore what we're doing and how can we expand that collaborative process. As we are learning, and probably going to unfold or kind of a little bit share that learning as well. The refugee resettlement process probably has been there for a long time. And correct me if I'm wrong, Jen, but the refugee resettlement agencies are an integral part of that. And they have been the ones who have been tasked with the responsibility of bringing refugees when they arrive here, getting them integrated into the community. But I don't think anyone has seen this onslaught at the same time, and that the volume itself, sheer volume itself, is phenomenal. The second opportunity and challenge both is the folks that are coming in here had a different kind of mix, and the mix is of nation builders, right? And a lot of those have stand next to our forces, our allies, and there are educators, there are judges, there are prosecutors, there are government folks and workers who have very great skills of building a nation in the last 20 years that we have an opportunity to tap into, and that's what we are looking at. So Jen, first going to you, I mean, what do you look, what is your experience? What are you looking for? Where are you plugged into this, the whole process?
As a refugee resettlement agency, we start from the point where someone arrives in the United States. So when they arrive here, we get assigned to cases. They then arrive at our local offices. And at that point, we are helping them with housing, we're helping them with jobs, with integration, and specifically with this Afghan population, we're doing a lot of work around trauma. So really helping people get prepared for their life here, but then integrating them in through the first jobs, through college, and all the way through for generations.
Okay. And that's a very different world than probably the industry is used to, right? I mean, I've been guilty, and now I feel guilty about it, but never. I think, of cutting a check to donation and not really knowing where it's going or how it's being utilized, right? And I think the challenge is that because we have not been part of this process. So I think the next opportunity, and probably the kind of this question to you, Stephen, is where do you see us getting engaged, and how can the broader community and especially the industry and corporate world be part of this process?
Sure. I'm going to start with a little bit of my story, I guess. In 2003, I was called up out of the Army Reserves and activated, and after a year of fighting the war over in Iraq and Afghanistan, I started a 10-year stint as the Afghan desk officer at U.S. Central Command in Tampa. And that's where I met John. And we had two missions. One was to capture and interdict the drug dealers. A lot of people don't realize 90% of the world's heroin starts in the poppy fields of Afghanistan. And we also were training and standing up the Afghan forces so they could survive on their own. When I left in 2014, I became a principal partner of an Afghan company headquartered in Kabul. We were the largest employer in Afghanistan. We peaked out at 1,800 employees. And this is where the cyber thing comes in. One of our biggest contracts was we did all the IT for the U.S. Embassy, the British Embassy, the CIA, and the military. And we probably had 400 computer science IT people. A very large operation. To compare with the Georgia Cyber Center, the U.S. Embassy was probably about 10 times the size of this campus. So you can imagine the IT infrastructure that we maintained. The last 2 weeks in August of this year, everything changed. The entire company is now gone. My partners have moved to Dubai. And sadly, most of our employees are still there. These are highly qualified cyber, IT, computer folks. And John and I are trying to help them, get here. And once they get here, get them in IT jobs. And we've developed a program that Afghans will be able to go on and through drop-down screens, fill out some questions, and we're linking them to available IT jobs across the country right now. A lot of people don't realize the University of Kabul was one of the best computer science programs in the world for many years. That's all shut down now, of course. in the last 2 months, but we've got tons of very qualified folks that are here now from Afghanistan and on their way here. And I'm hoping that this CFF community can help us get these very qualified people into good paying jobs. We'll get some more info out through CFF on how you folks can help us with this endeavor.
Absolutely, and looking forward to that. John, I think you have a similar personal attachment, and with your presence in Afghanistan for a long time and supporting people there, you personally know, and trying to help them get out of the country. Your side of the story, sir.
Yeah, exactly. My time in Afghanistan started when I was the country attaché for DEA in 2004 and 2005. Reopened the office there after the Russian invasion when the embassy closed, basically in 1979, early 80. But anyway, so after that stint, of that 2-year stint in Afghanistan, I came back to work at U.S. Central Command in Tampa as the Drug Enforcement's liaison officer to the command. Did that for another 3.5 years, and then I became a contractor working for this guy right here. And together we built some very, very nice programs to stabilize or build up and stabilize the counter-narcotics police, which grew from realistically a team of about 13 to 3,500 men and women. And we also worked with CBP and securing the borders and doing assessments of all the border crossing points in and out of Afghanistan. So obviously for the almost 6 years I spent in Afghanistan, I met a lot of very quality individuals who I was proud to call a colleague and probably even more proud to call a friend. Many are left behind now and could not get out. Some are SIV holders, some are green card holders. Some have no affiliation to the United States at all, other than that they helped us over there when we were in the fight. But I probably have a Rolodex now of almost 300 of these men and women. Prior to this, trying to get them out now, what Steve and I were doing before, in the very early days after the airport collapse, we were re-engineering and reversing what we were teaching our officers, and we ended up using the same smuggling routes that we saw chemicals coming in. We were using those smuggling routes to get people out into Pakistan, and we were able to get about, would you say, 24 families out, Stevie? Yeah, and but that is now dried up. The Pakistani border is pretty much iron tight, and the Taliban have imposed checkpoints for people along the way. But it's not just the individuals that we work with, the men and women, it's their family members as well. So you may have a family, one individual. In fact, my personal interpreter is still stuck in Kabul, and he is moving house to house every other night to avoid the Taliban who's looking for him. But it's not just him, it's his wife and 6 kids. So if you imagine trying to pack up the minivan and getting everybody over the border, it's not an easy thing to do. So what we're trying to do here is, as Steve alluded to earlier, it's a 2-pronged approach. Extricate people out of Afghanistan as best we can, and we're looking for ways, ideas, suggestions, any way we can from anybody in the audience that can help us fill that void. We have a request into State Department with Ambassador Elizabeth Jones, who was just named, I think, about 2 weeks ago to take over the Afghan Care Program. So hopefully we can get an audience with her and through the likes of other NGOs and people that have a similar mind, help deliver a better coordinated activity on getting these folks out. Obviously, there's a big political piece to that as well. And then the second thing is, again, as Stevie talked to earlier, helping people get resettled with jobs once they do hit the United States. And we initially started talking with Dave Marwell and Val on the whole piece of IT, but we've expanded that in our portfolio of programs for support, where we can help identify work capabilities for just about any field, from truck drivers to cooks to whatever. We just want to get people settled so they become part of the solution, not a problem. We want them to be givers, not takers, to the situation we have here, and we want them to resettle in such a way that they do become part of the community, and we're able to work well in this environment.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think, if you see, there is so much personal connection in this space, and each of us are tied at least by one person to an Afghan national in one way or the other, whether already existing in the community or in the forces that you served, or through the charity mission that Jen runs. I want to turn it on to something that's actually not so much known, and I had an accidental discovery of this whole service that our friends at Microsoft have. When we went through this whole exercise of finding out what resources we can bring to this Afghanistan crisis, I made a call to my good friend Brad Smith, and good friend and mentor, and he connected me to Kate Blanken, who runs Microsoft Philanthropy, and then the ball started rolling very, very fast. Got to meet Jason Nelson and the team, and Chris Conte and Andrea, and all of them brought an incredible team, which Kevin, I'm envious of the surrounding you have with the team members. But Microsoft Philanthropy has this disaster service and disaster response service, which can jump in, and it's just incredible. I can't stop saying that, because there are 20 to 30 person team jumping on the first call to say, how can we help, and what do you need, and understanding the depth and the breadth of the mission, identifying the right person. And Kevin has been with us from day one of that discussion. He was brought in to help us establish a secure communication channel, so that we are not exposing at-risk people to more risk. And in this case, this is not like organized crime, just limited to organized crime. This is terrorism related, right? So it's life and safety associated with it. So Kevin, I'd like to speak about the program that you are part of and that you have led. Of course, we can't mention specific organizations that we're working with, but definitely the solution is universal and could be applied in this situation as well.
Absolutely. Thank you, Val. So yes, MSDR, Microsoft Disaster Response, is an organization within Microsoft whose mission is to jump into that first call when there is a humanitarian crisis, when there is a natural disaster, and bring the technologies and the capabilities and the people that make up Microsoft to help in any way we can make a situation safer or better, so that those who are on the ground can move forward and help address the problem. It is worth calling out that secure communications, especially when dealing at a nation state level, is a complex problem. There are a number of vectors by which a group at that nation state level can infiltrate, collect information, locate individuals, and in the most challenging and difficult circumstances can lead to their capture and interrogation. These vectors are so numerous that it can feel overwhelming. They range from monitoring known sympathizers on social media to collecting web traffic from the tools that you install in your browsers. It can include implanted applications so that encryption can be broken. There are a number of ways that a group can be identified and located. I say that having spent years in counterterrorism operations where you are trying to locate an individual. And as technology has become ubiquitous, so has the ease in finding and breaking communications. Fortunately, Microsoft does have a lot of experience in the space of creating collaborative environments, creating ways to communicate, and doing that in a secure way. Whether you're talking about Teams or you're talking about our Office set of products, or even deploying new services into our cloud, our Azure cloud, or into our Power Platform, which allows for automation. But these are tools, and you need people who are passionate and who want to come together to make those tools shine in these situations so that we can speed solutions to the users who need them, and so that we can ensure that they are operating in a secure way. It can seem overwhelming. There are so many ways that security can break down. But I firmly believe that we have people with passion and empathy and who want to be there to help in solving this problem and help create a safe virtual space for communication and collaboration.
Absolutely, without doubt. And I think, without that, we're exposing not only those that are at high risk within the country, but also that those who are trying to help them, like John and Steve here and Jen. I mean, without having a secure line of communication, it's going to be exceptionally hard. And, we are not only exposed to the Afghan risk, but, there is other nation states that are vested in there trying to, influence and dominate, and we are squarely right exposing ourselves there. So with that, let me turn to Jen to kind of get an understanding of where are we with the program, where are you as a RRA with the program, and maybe we talk about the current state and what can we do for the next stage.
So currently with the program, as many of you know, a lot of Afghans have arrived in the United States and landed at US military bases. At the high point, they had about 54,000 people housed at bases. They have since started to release many of those people into communities through resettlement agencies such as World Relief, and they're also replacing those people with folks waiting in various locations around the world to come to the United States. As those people are being released in the community, we are, again, helping them with housing, helping them with jobs. The challenges we're facing is that in many communities, housing is a crisis. Places where usually there's 6 to 7% vacancy in housing, there's less than 1%, meaning that arrivals are facing 3 to 6 months wait to get a house to live in or an apartment. We also face the challenge that jobs most immediate arrivals face are either manufacturing or those essential positions that pay minimum wage. So anything we can do to help them get great living wage jobs that are going to help them thrive in their community is essential. We all know a lot of these people have former careers, college degrees, ways that they can invest in our communities. And the return on a refugee or an immigrant into our community is huge. I know from our experience, most refugees and immigrants don't believe in debt. So you think about them arriving in our community and they immediately are investing back in, and what that looks like and what it becomes as they are buying houses. They are also have the highest percentage of entrepreneurs. So they are going to be starting businesses and new ventures, all to help feed our communities. But what they need from us is support from organizations like this to get into those careers and to begin to make those investments. They also are the #1 contributor back to their home countries to provide humanitarian aid. Most people don't realize that immigrants in the United States, whether it's Afghani or any other, they send a large portion of their money home to support families that haven't been evacuated from situations. And so helping them actually helps the people still stuck in Afghanistan.
Excellent. No, so I think, that is something that I think we are starting to realize, that we can actually play a direct part than an indirect part. And we are really excited. Everybody could probably think we would rather not have that crisis, but look at it as an opportunity where we can infuse more entrepreneurial and probably a diverse amount of talent into our community and our businesses. So thank you, Jen. Steve, maybe you go next in terms of what can we offer to support, right? I mean, I think we're at a stage where everybody has to play their part it's a big piece of big puzzle, right? So the puzzle pieces will fall in line. And I think, the US government would have its own part, but the more immediately it's going to be us and the industry and the community actually supporting, right? So your thoughts, sir?
Yeah, thanks. I see CFF as kind of the quarterback for this whole thing, with all your contacts, all your members, and the system that John and I have put together for the Afghans to get online and go through the process, and along with Jen's organization, getting the word out to the refugee community. And then hopefully, is the reason why John and I are here really, is CFF will help us get the word out on the employer side, in identifying open IT jobs across the country. Because I'm telling everybody here today, there is a tremendous amount of talent out there in this refugee pool. I have firsthand experience. These are people that ran the U.S. System in Afghanistan. Very, very complex, numerous classification levels, TS, top secret systems for the CIA. They have the quals. We just got to link it all together, and I'm hoping Val CFF can kind of be the hub of the communications between all of us.
And I'm looking forward to it. I think, that's a very tall order of expectation. Hopefully we can fit at least some part of it. So, John, you have spent quite a bit of time there. Again, I think we are seeing this through the lens of folks that are coming here, and some of that, more immediately with our friends in the defense services and the intelligence services. All of. What would you kind of think of as the makeup of the young Afghan community that's there? I mean, you have dealt with them personally, and probably the kind of the way I look at it from my vantage point is, I don't think we could have probably done that with the Syrian refugee crisis, because there was a completely different makeup. The exit routes were different, but with Afghan community, we have been there together, building the country with them. So what are your thoughts on what is the expectation from that group?
Well, that's a good point. It's, we were in Afghanistan 20 years. So these young people that are now looking to come into the U.S., re-enter the workforce in the U.S. environment, they know what it is to go to work every day. They have a work ethic. They work with Americans, or they work with our Canadian partners up there with Greg and his teammates. And they've worked with our soft forces. They were linguists. They were doctors, engineers. The IT piece is just one example which Steve had, but we would have medical doctors that worked for us as linguists because they spoke 3 or 4 languages, because we paid better than it would be to go work in an Afghan hospital. And the case in point with that is, one of the gentlemen I was able to sponsor goes back a couple of years now, but he's been in the U.S. for a number of years. But he was an Afghan doctor. He ended up coming back to the U.S. We helped get him into medical school, and he is now a practicing physician in Alexandria, Virginia. So I mean, there are success stories that can be made, and we can duplicate, triplicate that, 100-cate that by what our efforts are here. And Kevin, thanks so much for what your words were, and your experiences here on the whole CT side. You've got some background in that world, I'm sure, and what Microsoft does, because that's what we need. We need that kind of corporate support and vision and dedication to try to make this work. We can either embrace this and try to solve this problem and make it something that's viable for the community, the workforce, as well as the Afghans individually, or we can just try to ignore it. And if we do that, I hate to tell you, but we're gonna find ourselves with another 9/11 type situation in my hand. That's my own personal belief. If you don't get these people adapted to this society, they're going to go back to a situation where they are not pleased, not happy, And that's just a breeding ground for a problem. And I think everybody can dive into what I'm talking about on that one there.
Well,
Thank
no,
you, Val.
Sure. So Kevin, I think, this is like the human part of it, but the technology plays a key role today and probably in every part of life. Of course, we can get into the details, but can you share at a high level, what are the different, capabilities that are out there that can be put together to good use in this particular scenario, especially securing the communication, but also giving folks a platform to collaborate a little bit freely with a kind of a zero trust approach, but trust built into those people that are coming in.
Absolutely, and yes, don't want to go into specific architectures because the intention is to not divulge too much. But in situations where we are working together, we do have detailed approaches for how to secure communications. But in general, I would say the most important thing is security. Before we even talk about technology, security has to be thought of as important before something goes wrong. Security is your car insurance or your life insurance in IT. If you wait until there is a compromise, if you wait until there is a breach, you've already failed. And so you need to start at the beginning where everyone coming together says, we need this to be as easy to use as possible, but we also need for it to be secure, because we do not want to wait until there is a failure in the system and a person or family is captured, is interrogated. It is too late at that point to hand wring, especially when we know up front that this is going to be a problem. That being said, when looking at technology, definitely see what's in the ecosystem and look to buy before you try to build something. Building something new, especially in an emergency situation, is fraught with risk and can lead to poor decision making from a technical perspective. So don't try to reinvent the wheel. Find your trusted partners, find your corporate citizens that want to work with you, and look at their experience in the communication space. And I know I haven't even gotten to the technology part yet. I'm getting there now, but all of those I would say are so critical before even making a technology selection. But from Microsoft's perspective, when we look at technologies, we are going to look at things like Teams for collaboration. We are going to be looking at our Office products for email. We are going to be bringing what we have, because again, we're trying not to build something new under pressure, but we know that we have a workforce of thousands of software engineers devoted not just to building software, but building software that is secure by default, that assumes breach, that takes into account the attack vectors and the threats that are out there. And so we want to leverage what is there. We want to tie it together in a powerful and meaningful way. We want to secure data at rest, which we have capabilities for. If you look at our Azure cloud, or you look at the way Teams and its backend is set up. And so we look at the DNA of our products and we look at the capabilities that they provide, and we say we can bring this together, and we can bring it together quickly because they are purpose built to communicate and tie together easily, so that we can bring that solution for communication and collaboration to the end users as rapidly as possible. That is the sort of Microsoft technologies. The other part of the technology space that I would recommend that people be aware of is, as you're communicating and as you're collaborating, especially at the nation state level, you have the ability to intercept network traffic. You have the ability to know where traffic is coming from. It becomes crucial from a security perspective that you look for ways to mask that traffic, that you look for ways to route that traffic in such a way that it looks like it's coming from other locations, to reduce scrutiny, as well as to reduce the likelihood that an adversary is going to say, oh, I see that this person in the United States is communicating with this person in Afghanistan, and I can actually narrow down because of the way they're communicating where in Afghanistan they're talking from. And there are a number of technologies related to what are called web proxies, just ways to hide where traffic is coming from and change what part of the world traffic appears to be coming from and being sent to. And it's tying all of that together and having people that are in this fight with you, who know and understand and are passionate about solving this problem, that I think is as crucial as the technology choices you make. It's too easy to say, oh, we have tech, so we're just going to tie it together and everything's going to be fine. You need people monitoring that technology. You need people engaged, and you need people who really do want and are enthusiastic about helping to solve this crisis.
No, absolutely. And I think, this is very important to realize that these decisions need to be made at or has to be made at the highest level. You cannot have, your committees and your individual members go off and use, whatever they prefer. It's very easy to do that. Convenient also, right? If you're used to WhatsApp, you will go to WhatsApp, build a community there. If you're used to Google Mail or Gmail, and in this case, spreadsheets of information that are flying around everywhere, it's easy and it's convenient, and it's very easy to get used to that. We have done that mistake in the industry for a long, long time, and now we are suffering for it, right? But in this case, we have the investments to make. For a nonprofit or a humanitarian organization, it's very difficult to go back and fill back those gaps or the more risky practices. So I think, without a consideration of doubt, I think this is important for us to go and get the awareness out that the serious consideration for secure communication is extremely important. The tools and capabilities are available. Let's make the best use of it, and it has to happen from the top. So thank you for emphasizing on that, Kevin.
And Val, just one follow-up on that. When in doubt, make sure that you have people that you can reach out to and talk to, because you may have something that is secure enough. Don't assume that it's not, but make sure that you've engaged with subject matter experts in this space and have a discussion. Talk about what you're using and make sure that the feedback you're getting is understood and that you can take action if action is needed. Because it's weird, even within MSDR, we use Microsoft technologies because that's the fastest and we believe in it and we know how it's built. It doesn't mean it's the only solution, but we want to make sure that whatever solution you go with is not leaving your vulnerable populations at risk.
Sure thing. Yeah, absolutely. So maybe we wrap up in the next couple of minutes. Jen, with your, kind of next steps you want us to take, or where do you want to direct the corporate people's attention to help you and support you in your cause?
As a nonprofit, financial is always helpful, but the other piece is step up and look at jobs, whether it's the first job as they're entering the country, the apprenticeships to help get them to these higher level jobs, or for those that are qualified, take the risk on the person that doesn't look like you.
Yeah.
That is so important. These individuals coming in are going to bring something that you don't have yet. They have experiences and understanding that will diversify your company in ways you can't imagine. I'm available here. You can find me through LinkedIn. Happy to connect you as organizations to help fill positions within your company, but also connect you to my peers throughout the country. So excited to do that and support this project they're working on. I think it's a great opportunity.
Okay. Thank you, Jen. Steve, final thoughts from you?
Yeah, thanks. Jobs. If you have an IT position, send it our way. We're going to get an email trail going, a massive one. And Kevin, how many people at Microsoft going to hire? We want a commitment right now.
hey, we've got job openings and we are committed to diversity and inclusion, all the way up to our CEO, Satya Nadella. So yes, I would encourage, as people are coming into the country with an IT background, our career board is public, it is up to date, and our commitment to diversity and inclusion is something that permeates every part of this company.
Fantastic. Yeah, so we will link our system up
one employer,
to your job board, Kevin. It will add that in, and then the system that's been created will take somebody's quals, and if it links up with something on your job board, we'll make that connection. Then Jen's going to have to figure out how to move the family there. That's these are all easy things, easy fixes.
It's ready.
But thanks everybody for letting us come and talk today. Really appreciate it.
Okay, of course. Any final thoughts, John?
Yeah, final thought is just thanks. Thanks for taking the time to listen. Thanks for your willingness to try to engage. Look as a visionary to the future. Val, again, many, many thanks to you, Dave and Harold, for everything you've done and allowing us to be here today. And if you see points of coordination or points where synergy could be affected, please reach back to the group here. Steve and I will certainly be looking for that. And, you know, for us at Veros Global Solutions, we're just a very small company, 5, 6 employees. We're a woman-owned company, but we all have an allegiance to, in particular, Afghanistan, because we spent so many years working that mission set. And we're going to continue to try to support our colleagues and our friends. So again, thank you for anything you can do, or anything that you can push to a colleague of yours to try to do. And if it's just awareness, that's also a good thing. It sets a baseline. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, Kevin, for joining us at short notice. And thank you, Jen, for being here. We look forward to actually making it work. I know it's a tall order again, and we're humbled and privileged to be part of the great mission that you are after. So thank you all. We'll stay on. Yeah. Deal. Well, you know, we have lunch outside if you want to grab something, but we are gonna. But please be back here. Let's have lunch here. We got to have a really great session, and I'm going to introduce the next panel. Of course, there is back-to-back online, so we'll keep it going. The next panel is an